Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome to the Full Spectrum Project. I am your host, Brian Clinton, and I am joined by my co-host.
Hi, y'all. This is Pete Haviland in the sunny state of Texas, where it's 43 degrees and we're all shaking like leaves.
You know what? I'm at 70 degrees, so to all of you.
That's okay. It's California. What do you expect?
Yeah, well, sunny California, although it's getting gloomy. Anyway, we are also joined by Angie Mole, our weird world. You know what? I knew I was going to do that. Our weird world news anchor. Say hi, Angie, and try not to mess up like I did.
Hey, y'all, and I too am coming from the sunny state of Texas, and oddly enough, I'm about an hour northwest of Pete, and I am somehow 20 degrees warmer than you.
It's got to be the house.
No, I mean outside.
Oh, okay.
Or it could just be that Pete's sucking all the warmth out of the air where he's at.
No, it's probably all your hot air blowing it all out of him.
What do you think makes California warm?
Well, I don't know. I think you're facing the wrong way today.
Okay.
And it's good to hear from Wacky Moley today. I wanted to do that one today.
Have at him, Angie.
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, now come on. You know darn well that if Pete was a Californian, you'd be all over him like white on rice. I mean, let's face it. It's just that he's another Texan.
That has nothing to do with it.
You guys stick together, and we know it.
I would happily jump on other Texans if they were, from Austin.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it's a territorial thing, Brian. You'll understand it sometime.
By the way, that believe it or not, that just reminded me. Remember when we were in Jefferson?
Yes.
Now, I do not normally drink Dr. Pepper, but now I'm like hooked on this stuff. Somebody actually gave me a 12-pack of Diet Dr. Pepper because they didn't want it. So I just threw it in the car and off we went up to Amarillo. And over the course of the next few days, as we were driving home on Route 66, I just started putting some of the Dr. Pepper in our little hotel refrigerators and actually kind of fell in love with it. But here's what's weird. I found I really like it. And I just found out that Dr. Pepper comes in a bottle. Although it was weird because I heard it was only because his wife died.
I cannot believe you just did that.
Dead silence.
That was better than the joke.
You've been doing this. This is the best joke you have ever made.
I can't believe that there was just dead silence after that one.
There will be dead silence for weeks on that one.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Jamie,
anyways.
I have to apologize early. It's going to be one of those nights.
Anyway, we are joined tonight by Jamie Mose, and we're going to be discussing haunted objects. So Jamie, say hi to the audience for us, would you please?
Hi, everybody.
All right, so Jamie, bottles aside, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to do research on haunted objects?
Bottles aside.
Oh, quiet.
Are you trying to recoup that crap joke?
Never.
Oh my God. Kat, can you mute him, please?
If there's another joke like that,
Well,
that's
I've
not
been
even
in the
close to Dad's. I'm just going to
paranormal
give
for
you
about
grief.
15 years now. What got me started was I had a paranormal experience when I was about 15 years old. And I'm not even sure if y'all are aware that I had written me and one of my friends had written a book, Susan Hill, and it's called
right.
Respectful Ghost Hunting. Yes.
I remember you
So I
telling
tell
me
about
something.
my first. I'm sorry?
I remember you telling me something about that book when we talked earlier.
Yes. Well, I tell about my first paranormal experience and, everything that had happened. And the main thing was I didn't understand it and I didn't know why it happened. And so it got me really interested in trying to find out, what this is all about. Well, back then, there really wasn't any paranormal shows on TV. There's really nothing. So I did the usual teenager stuff. I broke into abandoned houses and went to the cemeteries, and things like that. But then, of course, over time, as paranormal started getting to be more, I guess you'd say, mainstream, I was able to start finding more books and start learning more about it and everything. Then, to my surprise, I actually was invited to a paranormal conference in Gainesville, Texas. Oh, and by the way, I'm from Ardmore, Oklahoma. Don't boo me. But I'm an Oklahoman. But I have a lot of friends from Texas, and I spend a lot of times in Texas. So they say, that I'm an honorary Texan.
Don't worry, you're close enough in Oklahoma to Texas that they'll still just come after the Californian. So you're safe.
Okay, good.
Well, what was your
But anyway,
what was your first experience when you get a chance to let us know
okay.
how
Okay, so what happened is I was about 15 years old. I wasn't driving yet, so I was home completely by myself because my parents worked in the evenings.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing going on. I was in my bedroom listening to my music, and I was actually on the phone with one of my friends. So anyway, I'm, just bebopping along, doing whatever. And then there's a knock on my window. And so I think, oh, okay, well, my parents must have come home early or my brother forgot his key or something. And so I'll go over to the window and I'm going to pull the blind back. Well, just as I reach up, this really high-pitched crying sound started. And I can't explain it. And I've never heard it before and I've never heard it since. And just so you know that, I grew up in the woods. My brother's an avid hunter. So I have heard every kind of animal, known to southern Oklahoma. And it was no animal I'd ever heard of. And of course, the first thing that started was my body reacted. I got chills up and down my spine. The hair stood up on my neck. And I thought, uh-oh, there's something wrong. This is not right. And so I pulled my hand back. I didn't pull the blind back, thank God. And so I stood there and I told my friend that I was on the phone with, I said, there's something outside my window. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, well, it's making this like a crying sound and it's freaking me out. And so as I'm on the phone talking to her, it knocks again. But this time and the way I explained in the book, it was between like a whisper and a growl, but it said my name. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to panic now. And so I'm telling her, I'm like, it just said my name. And she was like, well, are your doors locked? And I said, I don't know. She said, well, go make sure your doors are locked. So I take off to the front, check the doors and everything. And the front door was unlocked. And so I started getting scared again because I thought, okay, something's probably in the house with me. So I go ahead and lock the door and I run back into my bedroom and I told her, I was like, my door was unlocked And she said, well, put your chair underneath your bedroom door. So I did, trying to block myself in. In the meantime, this thing is still making the noise, and then it says my name again. I'm starting to cry now. I'm breaking down. I'm like, somebody's got to help me. You've got to do something. I don't know what to do. So she puts her twin brother on the phone with me, and he's trying to calm me down and talk to me, but I'm panicking at this point. So because this is back before cell phones. This tells you how long ago that was. But so she runs to her neighbor's house and calls my neighbor that lives a mile down the road from me and tells her, what's going on. And so as I'm on the phone, freaking out, crying, all this stuff is still going on. And then all of a sudden this truck comes up and it just slides sideways into my driveway, and they jump out, and then they start going around. And of course, her dad has his gun. So they walk around the house and they check out everything, and they can't find anything. And so finally I go ahead and open the door and go out the front, to talk to them. And he asked me, he goes, now exactly what happened. I explained everything to him. And so we went over to my bedroom window. Well, it was snowing that night, and there was not one footprint in the snow. And then, how snow will catch on the screen of the window? Well, the snow was on the screen, and it had not been knocked off, because anytime if you just, flick the screen, the snow comes off. Well, nothing had been disturbed. So, of course, her dad thinks I'm insane. And I'm still bawling at this point. And so I go ahead and I go home with them. And then my brother finally comes home, and he comes to pick me up. Same thing. He thinks I'm crazy. And he was like, oh, it's just your imagination. It's because you were scared, because you were home by yourself. And I was like, I was not scared. I had nothing to be scared about. I was talking to my friend on the phone, listening to music. Nothing was going on. Even when it knocked, it didn't scare me. Well, he did the same thing. He walked around everywhere. And of course he was like, oh, it was probably some animal, or it was something. And I'm like, no, it was not. I'm telling you. And then after that, in the room, I kept feeling like I was being watched. And so I couldn't stay in that room anymore. And so finally, thank God, my parents had mercy on me, and they switched rooms with me, and then I was okay. But after all that had happened, again, I was questioning, what was this? Why did it bother me? Why did it come at me? Why did it not bother anybody else? What was it? Where did it come from? I had all these questions. And so anyway, so like I was saying, I finally started getting more into the paranormal and started trying to quote unquote investigate, although I didn't know what I was doing. And then, like I said, I was invited to Gainesville, Texas, to a paranormal conference down there. I had no idea that paranormal conferences were even a thing. And so I go down there and I start meeting some paranormal people. And I meet Linda Hill, which she owns the Hill House, Haunted Hill House in Gainesville, Texas. So that's my first, I guess, really professional investigation I had ever attended, and I was just floored.
I did some work out there at the Hill House over there, and we got one of the best EVPs that we had ever gotten out there. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I know I know Linda. She's good people.
Yes, she is, and I mean, they were so welcoming to me, and of course, I was a newbie, had no idea what I was doing or anything, and then. But like I said, they all invited me in. I learned so much from that paranormal conference. And after that, I was hooked. So I started going to all different kinds of paranormal conferences, hanging out with all these paranormal people. And then, of course, eventually got on a team and, just on and on from there.
So what got you interested in learning about haunted objects?
Well, that was kind of a later thing for me. Of course, at first it was all about the ghost and all that. But as I went on, I started learning, that a lot of times haunting is caused by an object in the house. It could be something that you brought home from a garage sale, or maybe it's a family heirloom. There's so many different ways to pick up haunted objects that you don't realize. And anyway, and so I really started getting interested in that because I didn't understand how that could happen. Because I didn't understand, how can a spirit or something that was used to be living attach to something, an inanimate object? You know, I'm like, because at first I didn't believe it. I was like, no, there's just no way that this happens. Well, over time, like I said, you know, doing different investigations and things, well, I started finding out that it's true. You know, these spirits or even, you know, negative entities, they can attach to inanimate objects. And so after I started learning about that, you know, that's when I started trying to learn more about that and learn about why they do that, what's the reasoning behind that. And anyway, and then I kind of started getting a little bit more, a little too interested, I guess you could say, because I started learning about, there are actually collectors out there. There are a lot of people that like to collect haunted objects. And I'm like, So I started collecting just a little bit myself. Now, I've not really jumped in super deep into this, but I do have 8 haunted dolls. And then I have a few haunted objects, you know, from like Waverly Hills Sanatorium and Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and just, you know, different really famous haunted places that I've been. And so, of course, I know a lot of people tell me, you know, to be careful with that because you can be playing with fire, which I understand. But, you know, whenever I do bring in, especially the dolls, because I'm most interested in the dolls, but when I bring the dolls in, we have an understanding. I kind of give them a little speech. You know, I tell them, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to take care of you, and I will make sure that nothing happens to you as long as you don't do anything to me. So we start out with an understanding, and I haven't had any issues with them. You know, I'll do spirit box sessions with them sometimes, and of course I've gotten their names, and I've gotten, you know, some have told me how they've died, and different things like that. So it's just so interesting to me because I just think it's really cool. I mean, I would have never thought, you know, that a spirit would attach to something inanimate like that. But, you know, once you start thinking about it and you realize that a lot of these things, and especially baby dolls, okay, baby dolls are very personal to people. You know, there are people, even like me, I have baby dolls from when I was a little girl. And it's not that I was like a collector or whatever. It's just important to me because there's so many memories attached to this doll. You know, I have a doll that was given to me by my grandmother that's now passed away. So that's a very precious item to me. And so are these other dolls, you know, that other people have. And so sometimes when they pass away, they want to stay with that doll. That doll is so important to them and so personal because think about how people treat baby dolls. You know, they carry them around, they love them, they talk to them, they hug them, play with them. So, you know, it's basically like a spirit when it attaches to the doll, well, it's being loved again. And it knows it's being taken care of, you know. But then, of course, there's the other flip side where there are bad things that can attach to basically anything. So you got to be really careful and walk that fine line of, you know, make sure that what you're getting because you can sure open up a can of worms if you get the wrong thing.
Right. Now, when you and I met out in Jefferson, and I believe you came up and purchased one of my books, did I introduce you to or did you see the little green bobblehead that I had on the table?
I'm sorry, I do not remember that.
Okay, not a problem. But that is Wyatt, and Wyatt has a tendency to move on his own and do weird things. So I'm pretty sure that I got him as a so-called cursed bobblehead, but I'm really beginning to wonder. Anyway, so we have to take our first break, but when we come back, we will continue talking to Jamie Mose about haunted objects. So we will see you on the other side of the break.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB radio out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't joined the chat room already, please go to WBHM-DB.com and click on our show banner, which will take you to the chat room. And if you have any questions for our guest or the host, please call area code 205-533-7982. So, Jamie, I wanted to ask, what exactly are haunted objects?
Okay. So a haunted object can actually be just about anything. I mean, there are reports of cars being haunted, jewelry, spoons. I mean, it's just crazy. Anything can be haunted. It can be something that was important to the person. And so it may be, and there's even times, like if there was, like the car, we'll go back to the car, if someone was killed in a car wreck and then they turned around and they were able to fix the car and resold it. Well, a lot of times you can have, hauntings from that because, the person that died in the car wreck, they may have not realized that they were killed and they've attached to that car or they just loved the car and wanted to stay with it. But and that's another thing that's very, I can't understand that because, I mean, the simplest things can be haunted. And I think to myself, okay, when I pass away and I'm a spirit, why would I want to attach myself to a spoon?
Yeah.
But, there's some reason, that the spirit is very attached to that. And so a haunted object can be just any object at all. And that's some of the things that I always want people to understand is that, so be very careful with anything that you buy from like a yard sale antique shops, things like that. Be very careful, because you might get something that is okay, like a human spirit. They're just there to kind of hang out or whatever. But, you can get those negative entities, and that's where it gets really bad, because if you happen to pick up, something that's demonic or whatever, you're going to have chaos in your house. You run the risk of, you being possessed. So there's a lot of bad things that can happen. And that's the thing. And it's not everybody. That's one thing about haunted objects too. It runs the gamut of everything, because, there are people that are more sensitive. Of course, I know y'all know that, empaths and things like that. Well, they're going to be the ones that are more apt to probably get a haunted object. Whereas there's other people, that are not very sensitive and not empathic or anything like that. And so they could buy the most haunted object, but it doesn't have any effect on them. Or there's just maybe no connection with that spirit. And so the spirit just stays dormant. Because there's even been times where people have brought in haunted objects into their house, never had an issue, and then they may get a friend or a new girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. A new person gets brought into the home, and then all of a sudden things start happening. But it may be because that spirit didn't have anything in common or whatever with the original person, but they may with the next person that comes along, and then that may be why they want to attach or want to contact that person. So anyway, like I said, any object can be haunted, but not every object's haunted.
Right. Now, going back to, you had mentioned that somebody could pick up, say, something that has a demonic entity in it. Now, yes. In a situation like that, I'm kind of wondering if it's truly a demonic entity. Did that demonic entity get into the object in the hopes of somebody picking it up, or were they just sort of waiting around for the right person and then entering the object to be brought home with the person that they've chosen to, for lack of a better word, torment?
Yes. Well, what I have learned, now I'm not an expert on any of this, just so you know. Of course, nobody really is, in the paranormal field, but what I have heard and learned from other people, and I'm kind of dabbling in demonology right now. I'm starting to take some courses and things like that, so I'm just trying to learn more about it. But anyway, so a demon can actually be put through not an exorcism, but they I'm sorry, I'm totally losing the word. It's not an exorcism, but it's more like a blessing or whatever. They're trying to, if somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing is trying to get rid of a demon and they don't get rid of it, but it's out of the human host. And so it will just jump into an object, and then it's just a vessel. And so that object is the vessel, so that way they can go find someone else, and then hopefully find a human host.
Okay.
So,
I guess that makes sense.
But then also,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say also too, there's a lot of people that will dabble in the occult and things like that, and they will summon these demons and things, and they will actually ask them to go into an object. So, you may have, let's say, a glass, just like a wine glass, okay? They may have used that to drink blood. They may have used that in some kind of a ritual or anything, or just anything, and then that glass may have that negativity attached to it. And then, here it is. They put it in a garage sale or something like that. You come and pick it up, and then boom, when you take the glass home thinking it's just no big deal, you may have brought something negative home with you. So it's just crazy, how anything like that can come about, because you never know what people are doing.
kind of touching on that, I wonder, you were kind of saying that if like a wine glass was used in, say, a satanic or demonic ritual, let's say it had some form of blood in it, like you were saying, somebody drank some blood out of it. I'm wondering if somebody buys it, say at a garage sale or something like that, does not know what the object was originally, or the glass was originally used for. I wonder if that can also be used by, say, a wandering demonic to say, oh, look what I found, and use that to get into a person that evil entity never originally even intended to try and mess with.
Right. Yes, and that can happen, and that's why I was saying, anytime that people want to buy things, used things, to be careful, because any object, can have something attached to it. Because like I said, any object can be used, in a satanic ritual or used for any kind of occult practice, and then anytime, something negative could be attached to it. And then, okay, let's even talk about like personal things. Okay. So this is one thing I've have been telling people too, is that you have to really be careful on like homemade things. So let's say you're traveling and you're in Africa, or even here. Okay, let's even switch back to the United States. So you're in the United States and you're traveling, let's say in Arizona, New Mexico, or whatever, and you come across a Native American reservation. And then, so you go there, and of course they're selling all these different items and things like that. And you think, oh, well, I would like to have this bowl or whatever that they made. Well, sometimes they actually make these objects in order to, again, summon up a negative demon or whatever, some kind of a spirit, because and then sometimes they don't even mean to make it a demon or whatever. They're just trying to summon these spirits or quote unquote gods, or whatever. And then it's attached to that. And then you come along and buy it, and then there it is. You have it in your home, and then it starts wreaking havoc on your life.
Well, let me ask you this, Jamie. How can you tell something is attached, and how do you test for that?
Okay. So what I always tell people is use your own senses. Okay, so if you walk up to something you see and you think, oh, that's so pretty, whatever, you want to buy it. Well, if you start feeling anything, like if you notice maybe a temperature change, or you all of a sudden start getting chills or something like that, leave it alone. Or even if you walk up to it, and I'll tell people sometimes, because even I do that all the time. I don't even think about it. If I'm in an antique store and I'll think, oh, that's so pretty, so I pick it up. And then once I pick it up, if you feel anything, if you, start feeling like maybe you're getting angry for no reason, or maybe you're feeling sad for all of a sudden out of the blue, you don't understand why that's happening. Well, something may be attached to that. So leave it alone.
But how do you how do you test for that? But how do you test for that?
Well, like I said,
somebody tells you they gave you somebody gives you an object.
You use yourself. You can feel. A lot of times you can feel it. That's why I said if you feel cold chills, if you feel a temperature change, if you start feeling emotions that are not yours.
Yeah, but there are
things like that.
There's other things there's sometimes other things that will that'll do that outside of it having an attachment. I mean, there's other things that can cause you to feel that. I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult here. I'm just asking the question.
Right. No, and I understand that too. But what I mean by that is, everybody has senses. And so you trust your gut, basically, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is because, if you pick it up and if you just feel like, hey, there's something not quite right with this, then don't get it. But, that's the thing, people do. And then, you may not feel anything. You may grab it and it's great and wonderful, and you get home. And then after you get home, that's when things start happening. But what I'm saying is, though, I would touch it and try it first before you take off with it. because that way, if you do feel something and you know for sure that it doesn't make you feel right, then leave it alone. But, if you do make it home with it and you thought everything was great and fine with it and you get home and things start happening, well, then that's where, you might need to go ahead and call in a paranormal team to check it out just to make sure. Or I even tell people, if it's not like something super chaotic or, like if it just starts making you feel weird or you might notice that it moved or something like that. A lot of times if you'll just get rid of it, just go ahead and throw it away or, whatever. A lot of times, because it hadn't really had time to attach itself, I guess you could say, to you or to the house. And it's just kind of starting to try to make itself known. But, yeah, you can get rid of it. But then, that's the thing, like I said, there's just so many levels, of things that happen because you might get home and it may be chaotic. You might start noticing shadow figures in your house. You may start being depressed, and things like that. So if it's on a higher level like that, you do need to have a paranormal team come in. You do need to.
Well, can you explain what the levels are so we have an understanding of what you're meaning?
Oh, and I just mean the level of activity. Like it may be as little as you
what are the
smell
levels of activity?
something. I'm sorry, what?
I said, what are the levels of activity so folks know?
Oh, as I said, it could be just minor, like you might smell something, an odor that, like a perfume or cigar, cigarette, something like that is not in your house and it's not yours, but all of a sudden the odor comes up and you don't know where it came from. Or like I said, the object might just move a little bit and you're like, that's kind of weird, or, just smaller things like that. That would be like kind of like entry level kind of thing. But like I said, as if it stays too long or if it's a stronger spirit, then it might, be a lot more chaotic. And so, like I said, you might start seeing shadow figures. You might, the object might move from room to room rather than just across the table or, things like that. It just gets stronger and stronger. And so, like I said, it's so hard with haunted objects because the person, I know most lay people are not going to know what to do. That's why I said it's usually better to contact a reputable paranormal team and let them kind of check it out and let them kind of guide you on what you need to do. Because if it's lower level, no big deal. Like I said, you can just throw it away, get rid of it, you're good. But if it's something a little bit stronger and it may have already, kind of attached to your house or attached to you, you may just need something as simple as saging. Saging gets rid of negativity and things like that. You could just sage and it'll be gone. Or, it can go up to as high as, if it's in you and if it's already, it can lead up to a possession. Depending on what you have brought into the house. And so, of course, if you're running into something like that, you're going to need clergy, But again, like I said, the best thing to do is to bring in, a reputable paranormal team, let them check it out, let them kind of guide you on what you need to do.
Well, how can one tell if it's quote unquote in them? So our listeners know what to look for.
Well, if it's in you, a lot of times it's going to be your family members that will tell you, hey, what's going on with you? Why are you acting this way? You're acting so different because you may be feeling feelings from that spirit. So you, again, might start having depression that's not yours. You may have anxiety when you've never had anxiety before, anger. There's just all these emotions that might be going through you that are not yours. And then even like people's interests might change, because once something does come in, a lot of times that person will want to start dealing and learning and trying to do more with the occult.
Well, how can you tell the difference?
Learn more about.
how can you tell the difference between psychic ability or psi ability versus somebody that might have something that's demonic in them?
Well, I think it's going to be the way you react. Because like I said, if it's a negative reaction, because if you're psychic, then you're going to be more like, you're going to see it, you're going to sense it, you're going to, that kind of thing, and an empath, but you're not going to change yourself because of it. But if you start changing yourself, that's when you know it's something bad, because like I said, a lot of times that person will start wanting to mess with satanic things. They'll start, changing into a darker person when they weren't that way before. So you just really have to watch for changes in yourself. And like I said, a lot of times it's going to be your family members or friends that recognize it more in you before you do.
So how do you know if a paranormal team, even if they're reputable, know anything about haunted objects?
Well, that's where you really need to have a good team. And so I would definitely ask around, check them out on the internet. If you can even ask them for references, if somebody that they have helped previously, because that's the thing, it's going to have to be somebody that knows what they're doing, because you don't want them coming in and causing even more problems.
Yeah, stirring things up, as it were.
Right. Yeah. So
we have to take another break, but when we come back, we'll continue talking to Jamie Mose about haunted objects. So we will see you on the other side of the break.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB Radio out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to WBHM-DB.com and click on our show banner, and that will take you to the chat room. And if you have any questions that you'd like to call in for our guests or for the hosts, you can call in at area code 205-533-7982. And Jamie, I had a question. Are haunted objects and cursed objects the same thing, and what's the difference between the two?
Well, haunted objects, haunted objects are usually, something to do with the spirit. A cursed object is something that someone has willed, bad luck, I guess you would say, or, whoever the person that they're trying to go after, they have willed that into the object. And even like I was saying about the car earlier, let's say, somebody was murdered with a knife. Somebody got their throat cut with a knife. Well, a lot of times that knife may be cursed because that person that died, was going through so much pain and anxiety and everything that it left a really bad residual energy on that knife. And so a lot of times, if somebody, because there are collectors and things like that. And so, somebody may say, oh man, that'd be cool to have that, and go ahead and buy it. But then bad things start happening to them. And so it's usually, like I said, it's usually more like a will. You've willed bad energy onto an object.
So
because
I
even
wonder,
there's some people that even will like do a ceremony almost, to let's say if you have a bad breakup with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, and if they're into, not being a very good person, I guess you could say, they can get something from that other person and just, will so much bad luck onto it, that whenever that other person does get it, they may have bad luck.
Yeah, cause I was kind of wondering with what you were just saying about the car. You've heard of the curse of little bastard?
Yes.
I've often wondered whether that's actually a curse because James Dean died in the car, but even pieces of that car, if collectors get, seem to have a lot of bad luck that follows just a simple piece, not the whole car, but even just the engine itself was part of that curse, even though it wasn't part of the Porsche Spyder anymore. And I often wondered whether that's actually a curse or something that came from the emotion
Power
of when
suggestion.
And the emotion of when James Dean died.
Yes.
Rather than just being an actual curse.
Right. And now that part, I'm not 100% sure on, because that's what I don't really understand that either, because like I was saying, like if somebody was murdered with a weapon of some sort and then somebody gets that weapon and then they may have, a lot of bad luck, or, they might get murdered themselves or something like that. And so I'm not sure if some of it can just be even just the power of suggestion, because if somebody tells you, oh my gosh, this is cursed, well, you're going to be watching and thinking about things like that. And so, whereas, if you had never had that object, if something bad would have happened, you would have just said, oh, well, that's life, you know? And so, I'm not 100% sure on that, because like I said, it's hard to say, but, like James Dean's car, there's been some really bad stuff come from that car. And like I said, just the pieces of it. And I don't know if it was just because, like you said, the strong energy of when James Dean died, that, he was just so mad at himself or mad at the car or whatever, that he, put that energy on the car. I don't know.
Right.
Well, how about looking at it this way? Maybe the car came to him as cursed, and he was part of the car's curse. So if you're giving away pieces of the car, then you're giving away pieces of the cursed car. And James Dean was just part of it. That's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
That reminds me, and it's something that I had forgotten until just now.
Oh God, I got him thinking again.
No. When James Dean first showed the car to his friend Alec Guinness, Alec Guinness looked at James
Obi-Wan
Dean. Obi-Wan Kenobi, right. Alec Guinness looked at James Dean and said, "Promise me you will never drive this car."
So that he could have picked up on the car
that.
itself.
Yeah,
he could have picked up on the car itself. So wasn't that a custom job that he bought? Maybe it was from the. If so, maybe it was from the person that put it together.
No, I don't believe it was a custom job. It was from what I remember, it was a factory Porsche Spyder race car.
Oh, okay.
But,
so it was a stock. It was a stock car. I mean, it was built from the factory as a stock car.
Yeah, basically. Right. But yeah,
but
it's funny.
Not stock in racing, but stock is built.
Correct.
But that's what's strange about
correct.
a lot of haunted objects is that sometimes people buy things that are brand new. They're brand new, and then and they're still haunted and have something bad attached to it.
It was a lemon law car. I said I bought a car one time. It was a lemon law car.
But was it a Pinto?
Do what?
Was it a Ford Pinto?
I won't talk. I played the fifth. I'm sorry, Jamie. Go ahead. I apologize.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just going to say, because there was one instance. I'm not sure if have you ever heard of the haunted Elmo doll?
Is that the one that started talking real witchy and stuff?
Well, yeah, it was I'm trying to remember the name of the doll. It was Elmo Knows Your Name doll.
Oh,
and
okay.
they these people bought it for their son, and of course they bought it brand new out of the package. Right. And then when they got it home, it started saying, the little boy's name was James, and it started saying, "Kill James, kill James, kill James." And they tried taking the battery out. They tried doing all these different things, to reset it and everything. But then when they did that, it actually seemed to make it angry, because it kept saying, "Kill James," more and more and more. And so, there's no rhyme or reason behind why a brand new toy, would be haunted. I tried to read up on that, and some people said, well, maybe it was some of the whatever it was made out of, like maybe the fabric it was made out of. Somebody may have been working on the fabric and then got killed in a car wreck or something, but I just can't see that connection. I'm like, why would you want to haunt a little brand new doll? I mean, I don't understand that. But anyway,
on that one.
But supposedly this brand new doll was haunted.
I know there was someplace out here in Houston. I think it was a doll that somebody had, and they kept throwing it away and it kept coming back. It was out here in Houston.
Yep. I heard that story too, but I don't remember.
I don't really remember the story on it. I just kind of remember that generic stuff.
Yeah. Yep, I remember that. I heard that story too, but I can't remember either where it was or anything.
Do you guys remember the old Twilight Zone episode with Talking Tina?
Oh, that one gave me the creeps when I first saw it as a kid.
I remember that, but it's been so many years since I watched that. And I had just said the other day that I wanted to find that either on YouTube or something and rewatch it, because it's been so long.
I mean, for some reason,
all I remember of that one is that the little girl was sitting underneath a tree, and there was a doll in the box, and it turned around and looked at her, and I just freaked.
Yeah, well, the one thing I always remember about that is when the doll looks at Telly Savalas and goes, "I'm talking Tina, and I'm going to kill you."
See, that's what got into Kojak.
Yeah, that line from now until the day I die will always freak me out. And it's just a little doll. And it's like, all right, no. Just no.
Well, hey, Jamie, excuse me, I'm sorry. You had mentioned about haunted, about when we were talking about haunted items. Have you ever worked a case that you had a haunted item, and what happened?
Well, I've actually never worked a case. I've been, on investigations.
Have you done an assessment of somebody that called you?
No, no, I have not. Because what I was going to say is I've actually not investigated the actual object, because a lot of times, when you're called in, they just think it's it's their house,
Right.
and so you're looking at things, but and just do a standard investigation. But I have not actually been called in to specifically, look at one certain object. I have not.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I want to. I shouldn't say that, I guess. I would like to be involved in one, I guess. But I haven't been called on one yet.
So one of the most famous haunted objects is the Raggedy Ann doll known as Annabelle.
Annabelle.
So what do you know about this particular object, and do we know how she came to be haunted?
Yes. How it started out was, again, this lady, she was in a used store, and she found this Raggedy Ann doll, and she thought it would be nice to give it to her daughter. So she buys it, takes it to her daughter, and her daughter's actually older. She's in college, nursing school, and so she takes the doll home with her and, puts the doll on her bed and everything, and she has a roommate that she lives with. So the doll, they start noticing that it moves, and then they'll notice like it might be just its leg was crossed when they came home, or they might notice that its arm was, or it might just be turned over. It just kept moving, and then it started moving more. Like it would be, they'd start out with it on the bed, and then it would end up in a chair or in a whole nother room. And then it started writing these messages that said, "Help me," on parchment paper, which was really, really weird because they did not own any parchment paper in their apartment. And so, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do all this from memory because I've read a lot about Annabelle. Well, anyway, and so they, know that now something's going on with the doll. And so they ask, go ahead and ask for help. So they bring in this psychic lady, and the lady tells them that it was a little girl that was murdered there on the property somewhere, I guess before their apartment building was built, and that it was just a little girl. And so, of course, I think the girl's name was Donna that owned it. Donna was like, "Oh, well, it's just a little girl, so I want to make sure and protect her and take care of her." So she basically opened an invitation, and she said, "You can stay here with me, and I'll, protect you and take care of you." Well, that's when everything opened up. And so the doll started doing a lot of different things. It attacked her boyfriend. And then they started having nightmares about the doll and all these things. And then the boyfriend was scratched. And so anyway, so finally they decided, okay, this is not good. Something's wrong. And so they had contacted a clergyman, which I couldn't remember his name right now to tell you, to save my life. But anyway, the clergyman knew Ed and Lorraine Warren. And so he gets in contact with Ed and Lorraine Warren. So they came over, checked out the doll, and said, "It is not a little girl. It's a demon. And so, we need to get rid of this doll." And so as they took the doll and they were going to take it home, Ed and Lorraine had a lot of issues trying to just make it home. Ed would lose control of the car. The steering would go out and the brakes would go out and things like that. So he would get out and douse the doll with holy water, to
Jamie?
try to get her to calm down. Yes.
Jamie, I'm sorry, we're coming up on a hard break, so we're going to have to take a quick station identification, and when we come back, it will be our Weird World News segment. But we will continue with the story when we come back.
Okay.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
The only thing they could find was about 2 feet at the end of a curb that had been a little mangled, but that's because tanks aren't exactly known for being gentle or particularly nimble. The thing that gets me the
they're
most,
not. No, they're not. They just kind of go over.
I mean, in the right hands, they, have a beautiful turning radius. Okay.
I think that might have been an EVP. Go ahead.
Well, the thing that gets me the most about this, if you even want to call it news, is that the news insisted, and I saw this on several different sites, they kept calling it a military-style tank. And I'm not sure if that's because it was painted camo or if they wanted to make sure they could distinguish it from all the soccer mom-style tanks that were rolling around in southern Florida.
Well, God, let's hope so.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, soccer moms' tanks are generally pink, so that would not be military.
Exactly.
Why do they have to be pink?
I was waiting for somebody. That came out of my mouth, and I was like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. Let's just put that one back in where it started.
Just ignore me. Everybody else does.
Yeah, we've been trying for you.
Cat, you might want to mute him. He's getting weird.
What do you mean getting?
I know. Go ahead, Angie.
In today's edition of Why Do You Think It Was Okay to Put That in Your Body, we have a 30-year-old man in an undisclosed location, and he's been made an example in a recent medical journal article.
Oh, no.
It's not as bad as you think. I'm about to...
I'm just having visions of Jackass and some of the stuff they've done.
No.
Yeah.
No. He decided to go off his meds. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, type 1, and he also had depression. And instead, he injected a concoction of boiled water and psychedelic mushrooms into his vein. But it's okay because he filtered the tea. He filtered the tea through cotton first, so it was fine. But his family took him to the hospital after. I'm sorry?
Thank God for cotton.
I mean, it's a very important sterilization.
Yes, it is.
Method.
Oh, my God.
His family took him to the hospital after he began exhibiting some worrying symptoms, including vomiting blood and, organ failure. In the ICU, the septic man was found to have the fungus growing in his blood. I couldn't access the actual journal article because education elites believe you should have to pay for knowledge and scientific breakthroughs, and they've even lobbied and shut down the sites I use to access articles. So I don't know what species of mushroom it was, but suffice it to say, don't inject stuff into your bodies, y'all. Stop.
Well, he had cotton. Okay.
I don't feel like this is something I should have to say out loud to the public, but stop putting weird stuff in you.
Maybe they'll get it this time, Angie. Maybe they'll get it this time. Did he survive? Please say he survived.
I don't know.
Oh, because you had to pay to find out.
Yeah, and
okay.
I mean, I love y'all, but I'm not shelling out $54 for one journal article.
No, and I wouldn't give you $54 for one article.
That's more than $1 a second. No. Okay.
So wait, Angie.
I pray for him that he was okay.
Angie, what you're telling me is I should put I should take the Lysol out of the syringe to get rid of my athlete's foot?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah, quit shooting between your toes.
Forget about the murder hornets because now we have to worry about lasso snakes.
Who?
Lasso snakes.
I thought you said. I honest to God thought you said lava snakes.
No, rope, latigo, lariat.
Oh, okay. Well, I
an invasive brown.
I thought it was a bad Sharknado movie getting ready to come on.
No. An invasive brown snake originates from Australia, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, and some other Pacific islands, has learned how to encircle metal baffles with its body and shimmy up and over them. The baffles were specifically made to protect the trees and birdhouses from the invasive snake. But researchers from University of Cincinnati and Colorado State University have been observing the snakes and caught them on video wiggling up the baffle. And y'all, I've seen the video, okay? I can't describe it. Snakes are known to have 4 types of motion: rectilinear, lateral undulation, sidewinding, and concertina. This is different because this snakes are used.
I thought that was I thought. Never mind. Go ahead.
Right.
I lost it.
Right. They
years ago.
Years ago.
They use a lasso-like loop to form a single gripping area, and then they use little bends in their body that's making the loop to advance slowly upwards. And it's impossible for me to really put words to it so that it puts an accurate picture in your mind, but I think I can kind of sum it up just by saying it's nightmare fuel.
I can get it. It looks like a cowboy snake throwing himself.
Okay, yeah. So I have seen in person how wild snakes can climb impossibly or seemingly impossible surfaces like brick walls. I've seen them go up door jams. So this just gives it like an added layer of ick. But the good news is, I
saw one turn on a microwave once.
I'm sorry?
I saw one turn on a microwave once.
He didn't want his mouth.
I saw the video. It was weird.
I mean, I've caught them in my house, like going up door jams, and I've had a neighbor that had a copperhead go up the mortar of the brick around her fireplace. So I mean, I've seen it happen. It's very upsetting. But the good news is that this snake seems to really struggle with this style of movement. It's not very easy for the snake at all. Mm-hmm. And right now they have only seen it do this in Guam. So hopefully it won't catch a ride on a freighter like that pigeon that ended up in Australia.
I thought I saw a story somewhere that there was a bird that is up for execution somewhere.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it went from Oregon to Australia.
Yeah. And they're talking about might execute it or something.
Yeah, because it's a health hazard. But my thing is, they aren't really, they're acting on it. They're saying they're going to do it, but it's like, well, if it was that important, then you wouldn't be like trying to get the homeowner where this bird happens to be hanging out. You wouldn't be trying to get the homeowner to trap the bird. You'd go out there and handle business. So they must not be that concerned with parasites.
Yeah, you know what I find so amusing about that? They're saying a bird that came from over here is a health hazard in a country that has spiders the size of large Great Danes.
Hey.
And some of the most deadly creatures on the planet, but a bird from Oregon. Oh no! Can't handle a bird.
I just had visions of strapping this little poor bird down on a board and giving it lethal injection.
Oh gosh! Speaking of birds,
that's so horrible.
One of the Tower of London's ravens, named Merlina, has been missing for over a week and is believed to be dead. Legend says that if there are ever fewer than 6 ravens at the tower, the kingdom is doomed. And the birds are very well taken care of, and although they do have free will to come and go as they wish, each bird seems to have bonded with the Raven Master and his team. The Raven Master says that as of right now, there are still 7 ravens at the tower, as well as a spare bird, and they also have a breeding program in place, so the kingdom is safe for now.
So
how many are there?
So with one less, is that still a murder?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Hey,
I had to take up your slack, Brian. You're being too quiet.
I'm sorry. I can change that if you really like.
His opening joke. That's why. Well, that is all I got for y'all tonight. Thank you for listening to the Full Spectrum Project Weird World News on WBHM-DB, Birmingham, Alabama. And with that, let's get back to Brian and Pete.
Dun, dun, dun. Brian.
Pete doesn't want me to talk, though.
Well, then don't.
I have a question about the bird.
Okay, go ahead.
So why is it bad for the bird to be over there? Does it carry disease, or why do they want to kill it?
It could. It could have parasites that have not yet been introduced to Australia, and Australia is particularly susceptible to having serious issues with invasive species. And I'm trying to remember, is it a cane toad? I think it's a cane toad or a cane frog. They were brought in to eliminate a species that was out of control, and they ended up taking over and decimated just acres and acres and acres. I mean, thousands of acres of vegetation.
Yeah, they were beating the hell out of things with all their things.
Yeah,
Wow.
They were old and crotchety, and yeah.
all
and
the little top hats and stuff.
And that's just one example. They also have, they've had a lot of non-native invasive vegetation that is also a very large fire hazard. So, they don't need any more problems. And my thing, I kind of look at it like, this is a person's trained pigeon. This wasn't just like a random bird from, a building somewhere. Like, this was someone's bird because it had a leg band. So chances are it was taken. Chances are it wasn't, a dirty, nasty bird like, the flying rat, like pigeons you see downtown.
Right.
This was actually a pretty decent bred bird.
Hey, Angie, I got some homework for you.
Okay,
you remember all the fires that were in Australia?
Yes.
Were there any yowie sightings during the fires?
I'm sure that there were.
I haven't found any. I know that you're good with that stuff.
Oh, wait, you're not talking about people screaming and running because...
No, I'm talking about Australia's Bigfoot. It's called yowie.
Oh, no, I will make a note to look up information about that because I have not, I haven't heard anything about that. The ecological restoration scientist in me is not thinking about that sort of thing when I was reading everything about the fires.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Okay. Brian, you may continue.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, okay. I'm sorry. Somebody just came out and is I do have permission to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
But not from me, so it's tied, so it's up to you.
Well, Pete.
Yes.
Do you have questions? Have at it.
No, go ahead. Oh,
okay.
Stop it.
I'm sorry.
Well, actually,
okay.
Jamie, you were telling us about Annabelle. Do you remember where you left off?
I do.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
I was talking about the car, when they were trying to get Annabelle to their house. And they said that Annabelle was actually levitating and, moving in the back of the car.
Oh,
and
wow.
So they, once they got her to the house, they had to go ahead and have a special case made for her. And the case it's a wood frame, but it's infused with holy oil and holy water. And it has 3 crosses on the front. and also 2 figures of St. Michael the Protector in order to keep her, quiet in the the case. So, but one day there was a young couple, because they used to have their museum open where people could come in and look at it and everything. But, of course, after Lorraine passed away, and hopefully one of these days, Tony Sparrow, their son-in-law, is wanting to try to reopen that, which I so hope he will one of these days, because I've always wanted to go there. But anyway, back to Annabelle. So their young couple came into the museum, and, of course, Ed was telling them his story about Annabelle and everything. Well, of course, they didn't believe him, so they were making fun of Annabelle, and the guy actually even banged on the case, and said, scratch me or do something, to me. Well, Ed said, okay, that's it. Y'all need to get out, because, that's not right. You don't need to be doing that. Well, right after they left, they were on a motorcycle, and he lost control of the motorcycle, hit a tree, and he was killed instantly. The girl did survive, but gosh, I think they said she had to stay in the hospital for like a year. She was so hurt.
Wow.
So, but anyway, that's how Ed and Lorraine, got Annabelle home.
I actually had this is going to sound like a weird word to use, but I actually had the pleasure of meeting Annabelle.
See, I really want to do that too.
And it was the weirdest thing. It was actually on board the Queen Mary, and Annabelle was actually brought out to a very large Paracon that they were having. And one evening, we were all in Johnny's suite that he had on the Queen Mary, and he actually had Annabelle there. And it was really amusing that we were sitting there, and everybody, we'd all be talking, and then all of a sudden one person would just like get this startled look and look over to where Annabelle was, and then just kind of go, okay. And I found myself doing it too. And it was just really bizarre, the feeling that she gave off. I can't really even describe it, but it was the strangest thing, just bizarre. But I did get to meet her, so that's something that I'll be able to tell my grandkids about if I ever have any.
And seeing that's one of my goals. I want to meet her one of these days. I had a chance at one point. He was showing her, I believe it was in Connecticut somewhere, but I can't remember. Something happened because I was going to buy the tickets and everything. I was ready to go, but something came up and I wasn't able to go. And then I haven't seen him showing her since then. So
yeah.
I'm hoping
once. Well, now are you talking about Sparrow?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He doesn't show her off anymore. I think that there was some sort of a ruse with Mr. Baggins, and he pretty much stopped taking her anywhere after that.
Oh.
So, yeah, she's just in her little glass case. One of the things that I get a kick out of is how many people do not actually realize that Annabelle is a simple, well, I wouldn't say simple, but her looks are a simple Raggedy Ann doll. Most people, thanks to Hollywood, believe that Annabelle is the doll from the movies, and it is just so far from the truth that it really is amazing how many people don't know the truth.
Right, yeah.
So, that kind of brings me to...
because that's what's crazy, because they sell that doll. They sell that doll, all over the place, like these little horror cons and different things that they have. And that's what frustrates me too. I'm like, that's not Annabelle. That's their, I don't know, whatever they thought up in their head, that they thought she should look like. That's not Annabelle. But yet people are buying up that doll, like it's her. But
yeah,
I'm the same way.
I've had people actually argue with me about the fact that she's not a Raggedy Ann doll, and I just kind of, okay, well, you think what you want, but you can look her up, and it won't be this doll that you're thinking of. So, like I was about to say, that brings us to television and Hollywood. And they've created this whole slew of shows that revolve around haunted objects. And we were just talking about it. And
Brian?
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
I think we need to take a break.
Pete?
I think we need to take a break.
Oh, you're right. We do. Thank you, Pete, for keeping us honest on that.
Not a problem.
We will continue with this question and continue talking to Jamie Mose when we come back from the break. So we will see you on the other side.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and intended for listeners over 16 on paratalkradio.com.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB out of Birmingham, Alabama. If you haven't already joined the chat room, please go to WBHM-DB.com and click on the show banner. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask in person, you can call in to area code 205-533-7982. And, when we were off air, we were kind of talking about family. And Pete, were you very close with your grandfather?
Yes, both of them.
Yeah. I was pretty close with mine, and it's funny. I was kind of thinking about
Angie,
years
get the
ago.
stick ready.
No. I'm just, years ago, I remember how much fun I had making sandcastles with my grandfather when I was younger. My mom really didn't like me playing with my grandfather like that, so she actually took his urn away and hid him from me. and I still haven't found him.
Oh my God. Angie.
Oh gosh.
Angie, are you there?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Did you hear that one, Angie?
Unfortunately.
I'm sitting there talking about memories of my grandfather, and this is how you guys react.
Angie, let loose the monkeys. Let the flying monkeys go.
Creepy things. I don't like primates.
Send them
Apparently
towards.
Apparently, you don't like grandfathers either.
Yeah, well.
I'm not going to say that. That was about to be very, very mean. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
I'm from California. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But I'm from Texas, and I like to have a little bit of decorum and a little tiny bit of manners. And I'm working on that because I lose them quite often. But I think I found one right now. So I'm not going to say.
I don't even know what decorum is, and I can't spell it. So
I know.
Angie, again, Jamie, I apologize. I had no idea he was going to be making sandcastles with his grandfather. I'm sorry. We don't know how to do that.
That was better than the bottle one to me.
Yeah. It get better towards the end of the show, but usually we have a hard time trying to catch him and put him in the cage by that time.
I'm getting very elusive.
Yes, you are. It also helps when you cover your body with Vaseline. We just can't catch you.
Yeah, that is true. So,
yeah.
And it just makes me so slick.
Yes, it does. I broke my nose trying to tackle you, but go ahead.
Yeah, but you know what? Look on the bright side. You look much better now.
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay, so always look on the bright side.
My wife says I look better.
See? I helped you out.
I know. Go ahead, Brian. Go.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go.
So, we were talking about Annabelle, and we actually had mentioned the doll from TV. And since Hollywood television, they have a whole bunch of shows that revolve around haunted objects. And, the most famous, of course, we were just talking about Annabelle. Then you also have the Dybbuk box. Are haunted objects the same as we see on TV, or have TV and Hollywood made them more or less dramatic?
It's kind of crazy because it depends. Like I was saying earlier, there's all these different degrees. I would say about 2 to 3% of what you see on TV can be reality, but the rest of it is not. I mean, because I have heard some crazy stories, about things, haunted objects and things that like I was saying, apparitions that have shown up, demons, showing themselves and things like that. Personally, I've not ever seen to that extreme, but all I have seen, and it's so funny, because being a paranormal investigator, me and one of my friends were actually talking about how you get desensitized, to all your evidence and stuff that you get, because, when one of our non-paranormal friends may ask, hey, what did you find on that investigation you went on? Oh, not much happened, a chair slid across the floor, and, we heard a few voices, and we heard a couple of times it told us to get out, we're like, that's it. And they're sitting there with eyes, as big as saucers going, oh my God, I would have run, we're like, really? It's not that big a deal. But anyway, but like I was going to say is like, what I have seen, like I said, it's such small things. Like I've seen objects move, but they might move a quarter to half an inch. I mean, it's not like something all the way across the room and slamming up against the wall or anything like that. I've never seen anything like that personally. Of course, we've heard many disembodied voices and tons of EVPs, and things like that. But, it's normally not as dramatic as you see on TV. Like I said, very, very small percentage that I have had reported to me that it would even come close to comparing to what's on TV.
Right. Now, believe it or not, I actually have seen something, or in this case, someone, be violently moved back in a chair to where he slammed into a wall and got thrown out of the chair. So I do know that does happen, although I have only seen it once, and I really haven't seen any other objects move other than just that one time. So I think it's more rare than TV and movies make it out to be.
Oh yes, definitely. And then to the extent of it, like I said, they show that any haunting, you're going to have objects flying across the room. You're going to have furniture flipping over and things like that. Oh no. I mean, like I was saying earlier, there's some hauntings where you just might hear a voice here or there, or you might smell a smell, or something like that. It's a lot of times it's not dramatic, not as dramatic as they portray.
Right. Like one of the things that I tell my friends when they ask, what's it like to be an investigator? I basically tell them, well, it's about 99% of the time you're sitting around bored out of your gourd. And that 1% of the time is when something happens, and that's what makes it all worthwhile. They're all, well, then why do you do it? I said, because of that 1%. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So, speaking of the Dybbuk box, or more specifically, boxes, because there are more than one Dybbuk box, what do you know about these so-called quintessential haunted and evil items? And why do people believe that there's only one?
Well, Brian, don't forget that, if you go on to eBay, you can buy Dybbuk, quote unquote, Dybbuk boxes all day long, or haunted items. I mean, for little money, extravagant amounts of money, which kind of scares me really, because if there's somebody kind of looking for that for whatever they're trying to do, either they want to have one or for study. There are a lot of folks out there that take advantage of folks monetarily for stuff that, is very rare.
Well, here's what I get a kick out of is there's nothing wrong with actually owning a Dybbuk box unless a Dybbuk box actually has something in it. Because you can have a Dybbuk box all you want. But if there's no entity in it, it's just a box.
A box.
Yep, just a box.
Just a box.
And, that's the thing, too. Again, like I said, a lot of times you don't know who or how or why, something is haunted. And, like you said, probably 99.9% of any Dybbuk box that you get is not going to have anything in it. And it's unfortunately, it's just Hollywood, and they're.
Well, I was going to say, the gentleman that claimed to have made the Dybbuk box, that I forget the movie that was made because of that box, but he came out and said that he made it. It wasn't even a real Dybbuk box, but from everybody, I guess, online wanted it to be true. And I think Mr. Baggins has that Dybbuk box that wasn't even a real Dybbuk box.
In his museum, yes.
In his museum, he purchased it from the guy, and that guy had even come out saying he made it. Well, I'm sorry, the guy that had it bought it from the guy that said he made it. So that's I think that's how. It went
and
down.
There again, that's where I think a lot of times it's just the power of suggestion. Mm-hmm. Once you put that in somebody's head, they're like, oh, okay, well, because like I was saying, even on bad luck. Mm-hmm. If you're not looking for it, it's just part of life. But if you're looking for it, that's when you notice things happening. So it could be the same thing with this, with the Dybbuk boxes and things. It just could be, it could be people's imagination. But then even like this box, there are people that are just attention seekers.
Well, and also,
they fabricate.
What if somebody wants one so bad that anything that they think comes out of it, they just think that that's what it is. going back to being suggestible.
Right.
My background's being as a hypnotherapist. So, if you talk yourself into wanting something so bad, you can usually make it happen just because you want it to happen. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Because, there's a lot of these, I can't think of what they're called, but the new age, like spiritualists, I guess you would say, that's what they tell you to do. Visualize it. You can make it happen, and so, but of course they're usually talking about more positive things, but it's the power of suggestion. If you, like you said, if you will it, you wish it, you think it, you can make it happen.
Kind of like the way you get enough people together to will into existence a tulpa or something like that. Although it seems that what we're talking about would be more toward a psi ability, as far as I wouldn't even know what to call willing something into existence, but I kind of get what you're saying.
I think you're talking about something like Conjuring Philip, where they got together for I think it was a year or two, and made up the background and willed Philip into existence, even though the story and the drawing and his background was totally made up. So it's like a group conscious thing.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. It's not like willing an actual object into existence, but just willing something to happen. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying on the positivity, if you want to become a doctor, well, you need to think about it. You need to, prepare. You need to do all these things and then see it in your mind, that you can make this happen. But no, I'm not talking about like willing like an actual object into existence. But yeah, like even like you said with objects, because a lot of times, like I said, that's what can happen too. Is that, the power of suggestion is somebody hands you something and tells you that this thing is haunted and it does this and it does that, well, then a lot of times when you get home, you believe it so much, that you're going to see that happen. It may have never moved an inch in its life, but in your head, you may think you saw it move. But unfortunately, that's more into psychology and things like that. So, and like I said, and unfortunately in this field too, there are so many attention seekers, that a lot of times they'll just basically lie and say, oh, this happened or that happened or whatever. And like you were talking about selling things on the internet, haunted things. Yeah, probably 90% of that is not real. It's not haunted. But there are so many people that want to collect it and they want it, that they, like you said, they're willing to pay really good money for these things. And then nothing happens.
And you actually see that stuff on Facebook Marketplace now too. They'll have a sign, haunted object for sale. It's like, wow, okay. It looks like a lawn chair to me.
There's so many websites now that they have on eBay. There's Amazon that has their own haunted section or whatever. If you get on Amazon, type in haunted, it'll bring up haunted objects that they're selling. It's just crazy.
Oh, really?
It's just crazy how everybody, it's just a way to make a buck, unfortunately. And it's at the expense of a lot of, I don't want to say gullible people, but, they're just.
Yeah, no, believe me, I know what you mean. I think our audience does too. Now that brings me to this. There are a lot of people who actually want to have haunted objects in their possession. I believe at the beginning of the show, you said that you were kind of starting your own collection yourself of like haunted dolls and things like that. Now, for somebody who does actually want to start a collection, where can you go to buy haunted objects without the major fear of being ripped off?
Well, that's where you're going to, what I do, unfortunately, I know not everybody has access to this, but what I do is I actually have a couple of friends that are psychic. And so if I do buy something that I think might be haunted, I'll take it to them and let them feel it out for me, because I have no abilities whatsoever. And so I can't really, sense it or feel it or whatever. So I'll take it to them and let them check it out for me. And then if they say, yeah, I do feel the spirit of a little girl or a spirit of a man or whatever, then that way I know I can trust that. But, like I said, there's just so many different websites, but some of them are reputable and then other ones aren't. So I wouldn't go to eBay. I wouldn't go to Amazon. And again, you really want to check out, where you're buying it from. You want to, talk to someone that has bought from them before and make sure that it's a good site to go to or a good person to buy from.
Yeah, and here's the thing that would be kind of rough as well is when you do buy something, unless you do have some ability or have friends that have an ability to be able to tell if something is haunted, there's really no returning the object because you can't prove that it is or it isn't. On that note, we do have to take our final break, but when we come back, we will continue talking to Jamie Mose about haunted objects, and I would like to kind of get into some of the more famous haunted and cursed objects when we get back, if that's all right with you, Jamie. But we will see everybody on the other side.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
And welcome back to the Full Spectrum Project on WBHM-DB. If you haven't joined the chat room already, we do have a little bit of time left, so you can go in there if you'd like to WBHM-DB.com and click on our show banner. And if you have any questions for our guests or the host, please call area code 205-533-7982. And Pete, I believe you had a question that came up during the break. If you want to ask Jamie.
Well, I'm happy that we came back. I'm happy that we came back from the other side.
Quiet.
Jamie, I wanted to ask you. We were talking on the break that you had mentioned you had 8 haunted dolls, and I had asked you, I think on the break, if you had done any work with them, and could you expand on that a little bit?
Yes. Yes, I've done some spirit box work with them, and then I've done, the K2, the periscope, that kind of thing. Just trying to get some answers from them, and most of them do answer. And what's weird is most of them will tell me what their name is supposed to be, but when I ask them, they'll give me a different name. So,
is there a reason for that? Is there a reason that happens?
Well, I'm assuming it's the spirit's name.
Okay.
So, like, if a doll is supposed to be Little Betty or something like that,
Okay.
And then, but when I ask the doll, it'll actually give me
the owner's name or something.
Yeah, it'll give me a different name. Yeah. Okay. And so, like, I have one doll. There's a few that are really antique. They're really old. And so I have one. Her name is Henrietta, and I actually bought her at an auction. She's the very first doll I ever bought.
Okay.
And for some reason, I was drawn to her, and I had never really ever thought about owning anything haunted or anything. But when I walked by her and looked at her, I was like, oh, I got to have her. And so we went to a bidding war and all these things. But anyway, I finally got her. And so when I got her home, I talked to her, got her name, and that she was an older lady, and that apparently the little girl before that had her, that was her imaginary friend. Henrietta was her imaginary friend. So anyway, like I said, it's pretty cool, some of the things that they tell me through the spirit box. And I have another one. She's not really spoke a whole lot to me. Her name is Jacqueline, but my psychic friends have told me, that there is the spirit of a little blonde-haired girl that's attached to her, but they couldn't give me her name yet. But I need to work with her more. I'm thinking she's just maybe a little bit shy, but yeah, I need to work with her. But I have one that is really, really cool. His name is Daniel. This is what he told me. His name is Daniel, but he's actually a little Coca-Cola boy. And so do you remember the old wooden crates that they used to make like little scooters or skateboard things out of?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So that's what he stands on. And it's like a little older boy. He's got the little flat cap on, like, from the 1920s or 30s.
Okay.
And anyway, so talking to him, he said his name is Daniel, and apparently he must have been associated with the mob.
Okay.
Because he told me that he was murdered, and he had said that his body, he doesn't know where his body is. And I mean, he's told me a lot of stuff, and it's very surprising to me, a lot of the stuff that he's told me.
Have you done any research? Have you done any research on him to find out?
I have no idea where he came from. He says he's from Chicago.
Okay.
But I have no idea where the actual doll was even manufactured or anything. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's just what he's told me. But then I've got Georgia. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, no, I was going to say if the child itself was from Chicago, that might be a good place to start, try and figure out what year he passed away and see if you can get him to tell you about where he was murdered, where he grew up. You might be able to,
have a little bit about the neighborhood. Point.
Yeah. And that's what I said. I do need to do more work with them, but I'm a little bit on the fence with that because I do some work with them, but I don't like doing it in my house because I don't want to open up anything, to invite anything in.
Your safe place. Yeah, your house is your safe place. So stuff happens in your house. Where do you go?
Right, exactly. And so that's why I have to really be careful because I don't want to open myself up to anything and start, stuff here in my house. Although I'm sure I'd probably be able to get rid of it, but still. And then I have a really old ventriloquist dummy that is...
Oh, those are creepy.
He's probably the coolest. Yeah, I really, really like him. But I have researched, and I cannot find the actual name of this dummy. He kind of looks more like the Charlie McCarthy doll, or possibly Jerry Mahoney.
I was just going to say, it was either Charlie McCarthy or his friend, Mortimer Snerd.
No, because he has dark hair, and he's kind of looking off to the side. And so even Jerry Mahoney, some of the older dolls are kind of more like brown. More like brown hair, but the newer dolls, I say newer, like, I don't know, 30s or 40s, a lot of them more have kind of reddish looking hair. So I don't think he's Jerry Mahoney, but like I said, I don't know. But talking to him, though, I was teasing him one night because I couldn't get him to tell me his name. And so I said, well, are you Howdy Doody? And he said, no, Morris. So I found out his name is Morris. That's the spirit's name, I should say.
I got a lead for you. There is a ventriloquist museum. I can't remember where it is, but you can look it up on the net. And all of the ventriloquists that pass usually will their dummies there. And the people there, if you send them a picture, they might be able to help you to find out what type of dummy it is.
Really? Oh, great!
Yeah,
Because I would like to know.
Yeah, it's a ventriloquism museum. I'll look it up and send the link to you.
Hey, yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a really cool doll. He is super, super old. I mean, I have to really be careful with him because his little clothes are just basically rotting. So I have to really be careful with him. But it was kind of a neat story though, because my dad, I mean, they support me in everything I do and everything, but they're kind of like a little shy away from this a little bit, away from the paranormal. But he's the one that actually found Morris at a flea market. And he said the guy that had him was really nervous and was saying, well, if you want this doll, you can have it. I'll just give it to you. And my dad was like, well, no, I'll pay you for the doll, you know. But that guy wanted rid of Morris. So I really don't know what Morris did to him. But and I wish now I'd have went back and asked. But he's not done anything to me. We've gotten along just fine. So, but yeah, I would really like to know which doll he is. So yeah, I need to get in touch with that museum.
So here, this is a question I really wanted to get out there. So if you don't mind, slight change of subject. So as far as haunted objects, the Myrtle's Plantation mirror is actually considered a haunted object. Now,
yes.
My question is, though, considering the Myrtle's Plantation itself is haunted, is it possible that the mirror itself is not a haunted object, but that one of the ghosts or maybe numerous ghosts that are at the Myrtles are actually using the mirror as a conduit rather than the mirror itself being the haunted object?
That's exactly what I think. I don't think it's the mirror itself. I think it's the spirits in the house. Because I've been there and of course I've looked at the mirror and everything, and even you know, like I said, the psychics and stuff I've been around, they said they didn't really feel anything in the mirror or with the mirror. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think. It's just the spirits in the house.
All right. Yeah, I've often wondered that. I haven't actually had the pleasure of going to the Myrtle's Plantation. I really want to one of these days.
I love it. Yes, you need to go there.
Yeah, see about spending a whole weekend there and, you know, seeing if they'd allow me to do my own little investigation, as it were. But yeah, the Myrtles is definitely on my bucket list, especially since it's in Louisiana and I really love that state. So
me
now,
too.
We only have a few minutes left, but one of the things that I really would like some info on is how does one safely get rid of a haunted or cursed object?
Okay.
You give it as a Christmas present.
I would. You wrap it up really good. No, like I said, I would definitely.
I was going to say, Pete, I have a few objects Christmas presents I need to send you. So.
Yeah. I should let you know that I've been feeling those needles that you've been putting into things. Stop it.
I'm sorry. Anyway, Jamie, I'm sorry for cutting you off like that.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
But, yeah, there's like I said, there's a lot of different levels that you can do. So if you feel like it's not just super strong, like super haunted, again, like I said, you can just give it away, throw it away, you know, just get rid of it. But if you feel like it's something that's a little bit stronger and you're a little nervous to do that, you can actually bind it yourself. Most people like to use sea salt and then holy water, you know, wrap it in a cloth or whatever and tie it and bind it. And then if you want to keep it, you can keep it somewhere, but you need to keep it where nobody's going to mess with it, because if you mess with it, then you can break the bonding and it's going to start up again. Or
that's an extra $75 in Las Vegas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or you can go ahead and bind it and bury it, get rid of it, or throw it in water, deep water.
Now, just out of curiosity, you were saying that if you keep it and you mess with it, you can break the bonding. When you say mess with it, are you talking physically or psychically?
Physically.
Or both?
Physically. Or both, actually,
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it needs to be put away so that way you're not disturbing it. Because, if you touch it, or if somebody else comes and touches it, or again, with the will thing, if you, I don't want to say wake it up, but if you aggravate it or whatever, you can start things again.
So you're saying that after you bind it, then you have to pretty much seal it or put it away, so it's not messed with.
Right. Either put it away, or if you totally want it out of your house, you can bury it or put it in water, depending on the size of it, of course. I mean, if it's something big, of course you can't do that, but yeah. Or if you feel like it's already attached to you, and if you feel like it's gone a little too far, you'll probably need to contact clergy, and you may actually have to have at least a blessing, or even as extreme as an exorcism, to get rid of whatever it is.
Now, here's a quick question. If you're saying call in clergy, would the haunted items possible religion have a bearing on what type of clergy you call in?
Well, it's going to be more your belief. Whatever clergy that you feel comfortable with.
Okay, so then you would treat it as your item. So then you would take care of it as it was your possession.
Exactly.
As in your item, not possessed, but yeah. So whatever your belief is that you would use your belief.
Right. Yeah, because like I said, it could be as simple as a blessing, or just a cleansing, to get it to calm down. Because I'm sure y'all know that, there's varying degrees of demons. There's lower ones, and then there's the more stronger ones. So it's like I said, it just so depends on the severity of it. And like I said, your best bet would be to get a really good team and make sure that they can guide you. Or if you are a religious person, go ahead and go straight to your clergy, and they can help you also. I mean, because they'll know how to, bless it, bind it, get rid of it. And like I said, if you have to go to as extreme as an exorcism, they may have to handle that part too.
Okay.
All right. So unfortunately, Jamie, we are out of time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. This was an absolutely fascinating discussion. Even though I have what may be classified as a haunted object, I haven't really done much research into it. And you've given me a lot to think about as far as where to begin. So again, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I, for one, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully we can have you back sometime. So, folks, next week.
Good evening.
Next week, join us when we welcome Susan Hill to the show to discuss urban legends. Where do they come from, and how do they spread? So
You're
until
listening
next week,
to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only
hopefully you'll
on
come back
Paranormal
and to our show next
Experience
week.
Radio. Broadcasting live,
thank you so much.
live out of Birmingham.
Thank you all, and remember we have given Angie some homework, so maybe she'll have some information on the Yowie question I had asked her for next week. So tune in for that. See, told you, she's working on it.
All right, so until next week, thank you all so much, and have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Thursday.